Welcome, welcome to episode 26 of the Party Wagon. Welcome to episode 26 of the Party Wagon podcast. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that. Are you kidding me? Welcome to episode 20. Welcome to episode 26 of the Party Wagon podcast. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that stuff. We talk about all. Welcome to episode 26 of the Party Wagon podcast. We talk about all things TMNT, past, present, and future. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that stuff. I'm your host, Brendan, from the YouTube channel Brendan's Rambles. Going solo again. I want to thank everybody who's been, still following the cast and listening every 2 weeks, even though these solo episodes have been a little rough. And I'm also sorry that everyone has to hear that horrible Deck the Halls song before every single freaking episode, because that is horrible. Don't worry, next episode it'll be gone. It'll be back to the regular intro. I'm pretty sick of hearing that myself, to be totally honest. I apologize, and I also apologize for the fact that everyone's had to hear that god-awful Deck the Halls with Pepperoni thing every episode this past month. It will be gone next month, no more. Santa Claus will what do they say? Santa Claus will bring his reindeer in the sewers. How will he get here? I'm sorry, Turtles. You're making poor old Santa Claus go down into the sewer, and his reindeer go down into the sewer and walk through shit. That's pretty inconsiderate, Turtles. Like, come on. Nobody wants to go down there. Just have them drop them off at April's house or something. They're probably asking for some stupid shit also, like, oh, we want pizzas. So by the time they wake up, they're going to be all nasty and congealed and shit. And it's just selfish, dude. Nobody wants to go in the sewer and walk around in shit. Nobody wants to do that. It's freaking disgusting. You're being selfish. Get an apartment, you fucking bums. And, for that matter, actually, completely random, but we got to talk about Mutant Mayhem news soon anyway for the sequel. Going into ones like Mutant Mayhem, versions of the Turtles, where they're accepted by society by the end. Can you fuck off, Dad? Can you fuck off? Just fuck off. Like, you have all day. Just fuck off. Why are they still living in the sewers? Out of the Shadows, by the end, the Michael Bay movie, everyone's cool with them. They're accepted into society. Mutant Mayhem, they're literally taking off their ninja gear and going to school and being accepted in school. Why are they all living in the sewers? Do they just like it? Do they just like living in the sewers? The idea was that in New York City, where there's people everywhere, the only place a ninja could truly hide and get around anywhere in the city was in the sewers. So I never quite understood versions of the Turtles like these ones, these musical coming out of their shells, whatever the hell you want to call them, Turtles. Why are you still living in the sewers? You did a whole concert tour. Like, the whole world knows about you now and accept you and cheered you on. So why would these Turtles still be living in the sewers? It makes no sense. I call bullshit. But speaking of Mutant Mayhem news, so we got some action figure news. We got some Mutant Mayhem news. Let's talk about the Mutant Mayhem news real quick. So the director of Mutant Mayhem gave us some little updates about the sequel movie. The first one is the Shredder will be in the sequel movie. He's not going to be in the TV show. He's going to be the villain of the next movie, which I think is good. I think Eric and I both agree that's what they should do, because, he is the most important, most iconic villain of the Turtles, the main adversary of the Turtles. It would be a real waste to just make him like a bad guy of the week in the cartoon show. Or, I mean, even if he was going to be the bad guy the whole show, that would be kind of a waste. Like, a movie feels more like an event. So I feel like the Shredder should be introduced in a movie, especially since, he was teased at the end of the first movie. So I think that's good. I think they should do that for the second film. Uh, Good idea in my book. But then the other thing he said is he will be 100 times scarier than Superfly. And someone in the comments wrote on the post I saw, like, well, Superfly wasn't scary at all, so I don't know what that means. And I mean, I can see what they mean. Superfly was intimidating. He felt like a bit of a loose cannon. He felt like a tough guy, but I can see with like how comedic the tone of the first movie was. You couldn't really make anything too scary because everything was just made light of in it, and that's kind of a problem with a lot of modern kids media, is that they're so jokey. And I mean, even like Marvel movies and stuff now, they're so jokey and so self-aware, and they can't go like 5 seconds without trying to make you laugh, that it kind of just doesn't allow there to be any sad moments or scary moments or anything like that, serious moments. When they try to do them, they don't really feel earned because the whole movie just feels like a complete joke. And I think that's the problem too, is like Superfly, like, yeah, he was intimidating, but he was also funny. And that's the problem with these movies, these big ensemble cast movies, is everyone's trying to be the funny guy. There's no straight man. The straight man in comedy is like gone. We don't do that anymore. Now, like, everyone's the goofball. So it's weird with modern comedy, especially stuff like this, that's like comedy that's trying to do other genres, or not genres, other tones also, like, trying to have your sad emotional moments, trying to have your scary moments. Because I mean, think about it, the four turtles are all clowns, cracking jokes all the time. Splinter's a clown, cracking jokes. April's a clown, cracking jokes. Superfly's a clown, cracking jokes. All the other mutants working for him are complete clowns, cracking jokes. Even when he turns into Super Duper Fly, he's funny as hell. It's like everything is just goofy in that movie. Like, nobody is the straight man. And you really need that usually in comedy to make the funny things stand out and make them funny. You kind of need variety in characters. You need the straight man. In the original Ninja Turtles 1990 movie, it might not be the most like laugh out loud comedy ever, but the Turtles were really just like Mike and Don with a little bit of Leo are funny. And no one else is really that funny in the movie. Casey Jones is kind of funny. Raph has a couple moments that are kind of funny, but for the most part, most of the characters aren't. Splinter's not. Shredder's not at all. Like, Splinter at least can be like the straight man to their jokes and kind of shake his head when they're joking around and stuff. Shredder is just all out intimidating. They're cracking jokes about never needing a tin can opener and stuff when they see him, but like, it doesn't faze him at all. He's just stone faced the whole time. And that works better for the Turtles. I mean, there are rare exceptions of old movies where not having a straight man works. I guess like a good example is like Clue with Tim Curry from the 80s. Like, everyone's kind of funny in that movie. And even though it's a very comedic, very silly film, I do feel like everyone's a little more restrained. Everyone's a little held back, in that they can still come off like believable characters and still react to situations. It's not just joke. It's full of jokes. It kind of is joke, rapid fire joking. But there's still enough just normal restrained interaction between the characters to make you still follow the story. And even though there's nothing emotional or anything in it, it's just trying to be funny. It works better basically because of that. I mean, it's not trying to, make you cry. Like the original, the Clue film is not trying to make you cry. It's just trying to make you laugh. And, another comedy, I guess, keeping with the Tim Curry, trend, is a Rocky Horror Picture Show. That has no straight man. And actually it probably in all ways does not have any straight man in it. But yeah, it's a hilarious movie. That is an insanely funny movie. And everyone is being extremely goofy. But that doesn't happen all the time. That's lightning in a bottle. Like, you can't plan for something like Rocky Horror Picture Show. That just happens. Like, the plan is just a line. all the planets of Transylvania, or I'm sorry, transsexual, or no, the galaxy is Transylvania, whatever. All the planets aligned for that one. And again, it's just a comedy. It's just trying to make you laugh. It's not trying to have an emotional response. Even the parts that play out like they're emotional are played for laughs, like it's for irony's sake. Whereas, like, something like a lot of these modern animated kids movies, like the Mario movie and Mutant Mayhem and all this stuff, is like they want to have their emotional moments. They want to have their intimidating moments. They want to have their serious moments, but like 98% of the movie is just jokes. So at some point, you just can't take it seriously. Like when they actually try to be serious, you can't accept it. So I don't know. I would like to see Shredder be completely serious, like not one joke in the entire movie. But I don't think they can help themselves. I think like everyone has to be funny in modern stuff. And I really hope they don't. At the same time, it's like, I know I just sound like I'm crapping on modern media, and don't worry, the topic today is very, very positive. But it just seems like in modern media, they can only go one way or the other. Like it's one extreme or the other. They're either constantly joking and being goofy and stupid, or the character is like the darkest, most over the top, intimidating, evil thing you've ever seen. And I think they're going to go so far with Shredder that it's going to feel out of place and forced, but hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully like the whole movie kind of matures a bit. Like the first one was funnier because they were younger. They were just getting started. I hope the sequel's a little more serious. Still goofy. I like goofy turtles. Like I do prefer funny turtles over grimdark turtles, but I do think the best turtles are a mix of the two. Like I've said 1,000 times on here. So I do think they should age up the story with its audience and kind of make it, a little more mature as it goes on. So yeah, I'm really hoping that this news means Shredder will not be joking. He will not be cracking little sarcastic one-liners the whole movie and stuff. He won't be breaking the fourth wall and mocking the writing of the film and everything like that they do in modern movies. I really hope they just take it seriously. But that's about it for the Mutant Mayhem news. That was just, something the director said about the sequel, which is, it's crazy. We spent this whole past year, this is the last episode of 2023 and of our Party Wagon podcast. And we started this year just talking about Mutant Mayhem. What's it going to be like? What's it going to be like? And now the year's over and year's not even over yet. And I'm already discussing what the next one's going to be. So it's crazy how fast things move. But let's get into one of the most recurring segments of this show, me complaining about Super 7. Sorry, I know it's probably getting old at this point, but I just got Robotic Rocksteady recently. I've been moving real slow with this new wave, and I thought I was going to get Space Cadet Raph before Robotic Rocksteady, but I went with Robot Rocksteady because he was a higher price. I just wanted to find a good deal and get him while I could. Which honestly, the better deals will probably show up later down the line, but I got a pretty decent deal off eBay for him. I really wanted the figure after kind of seeing a review of all the wave and seeing that the Space Cadet Raph is cool, but there's some things about it I'm not crazy about. They got rid of all of the colors of like the stickers and stuff on the middle of his spacesuit, so it looks really dull now. There's not a lot of color. And something like the goggles, when you put them on his face, it just looks all red. You can't even see his eyes, really. It's like, there was a few things that were a little disappointing. Whereas looking at Robotic Rocksteady, I was like, that just looks awesome, that figure. And I got him, and he is cool. He's big, he's chunky. His accessories are too small, kind of like the normal Bebop and Rocksteady. They do that a lot in this line, where the accessories just look too dinky. And I know it's supposed to be like, oh, these are regular human objects, so they look small compared to these big monsters. It's supposed to make them look bigger, but it doesn't look as cool. You want Rocksteady holding a gun that's as tall as him. That just looks badass. And for this one, these are all like mecha futuristic weapons made specifically for this robot, so it makes no sense why they're so small. I guess they're just trying to save on plastic, which again, I hate to bring it up again, but the Premium DNA Battletoads, especially that Zitz, he came with that gigantic bulldozer wall, like spiked wall, fully painted, decoed, textured. Crazy amount of work that went into that. Way more detail, way more sculpt than any of the accessories that you get with, Robotic Rocksteady. And it was, the figure was like, what, $50 or something? This guy was like, I mean, if you bought him online, he's basically almost $80. Like, he's an insane amount of money. I think I got him for like a little over 70 with tax and everything. And he comes with these dinky little accessories. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of disappointing. He comes with this like laser beam thing that's really small that he can't really use unless you use it as a hand. I kind of wish you could have it coming out of the wrist cannon on his arm. And also speaking of his wrist, his right wrist, our left, just falls. It's so loose that it just dangles. It doesn't stay up. If you put an accessory in his hand, it just slumps down. And I have a shield in that hand, and like I have to do all kinds of weird little like resting it against parts of his body and stuff just to make him hold it up. And I tried other hands. It's every single hand. It's just the socket is too loose. Just like little QC issues like that I just always get with Super 7 figures. But I mean, it looks very clean. The paint is really good. I wish it was vac metallized. It looks a little boring because that was the whole draw of the original figures, was that they were vac metallized. The fact that he's so gargantuan makes him a little cooler because the original ones looked really small. So having this big like Ed 209 Rocksteady is pretty cool. I just really wish he had a little bit more shine to him. They've shown they can do the vac metal with the Silverhawks now. The wave, what was it? Wave 4 of Silverhawks. They're just redoing wave 1 just in vac metal, in the toy colors. So yeah, I think they could have done that. If not, they could have at least done for the new Mechagodzilla that just came out. He has probably the shiniest looking silver paint I've seen on a Super 7 figure outside of vac metal. I kind of wish they used that silver on all of them. Or I at least thought that he was going to have kind of a reflective, like bluish purple kind of marbleization almost in there. Almost like, you know how RoboCop's armor looks, where you hit it the right light and you see a little bit of blue or purple. That's how he looked in the production photos, the Robotic Rocksteady, but he's just solid silver when you get him. He's just like generic silver. No crazy paint. But he's generally pretty good. I am continuing to have problems with my Genghis Frog, though. I love the Genghis Frog figure mostly. I love the way it looks, I should say. But boy, I've just been having so many problems with him. I told you all that he fell off the shelf. His tongue broke off. I glued the tongue back in. At some point, he fell again, even though I completely took the shelf down he was on and purposely tilted it back a little bit and screwed it back on so that there's no way he can fall forward, really. It's every other figure is standing fine, but he fell again at some point. In the middle of the night, I was sleeping. I thought I just heard some massive thud because this figure is unnecessarily huge. I'll get to that in a second. I don't know why the hell Genghis Frog is so freaking big. I'm laying in bed, I hear boom. It just woke me up like, what the fuck was that? Like, I just thought like some I just thought like some squatter that was in my freaking attic just fell through the roof or some shit. Like I have Gary Busey living in my house, like hide her in the house or something. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I look over and it's this dumbass frog laying there with his tongue again broken off, laying like 5 feet away. And it's like, dude, fuck that thing. So I eventually just took that head off. I still have to repair it. The tongue's still not reattached. And for now, I just put on the regular classic style head with the gritted teeth. I don't like that one as much. I like the tongue one way better, but I mean, it just keeps breaking. Also, when he came down the second time, he took down Sewer Surfer Mike with him and broke the cord that attaches like the anklet to the surfboard. So now I have a broken Sewer Surfer Mike. So I have a broken Sewer Surfer Mike. I have a broken Foot Soldier, a broken Sewer Samurai Leo, a broken Genghis Frog, a broken Ray Fillet, like a broken Krang. Like so many of my fucking Super 7 figures have broken at this point because they're just, I don't know, they're kind of crap. I don't know. I hate to say they look awesome, but they're kind of crap. I don't have anywhere near as many broken NECA figures, and I have way more NECA figures then I have Super 7. Oh, I also got Goldar from Power Rangers, and I was being so delicate with him because I watched the video, and in the video, the person, she said that he's very delicate. She had to like rebuy him like 2 times. Like she bought like 3 Goldars because like the legs would break, the arms would break, the wings would break. She said, be very careful. I commented her in the video. I'm like, oh, wow, I pre-ordered this guy. I'm waiting for him. I'm a little scared. And she's like, just be really careful with like swapping hands and swapping the head. And I wanted to swap the head. So I got him. I was so gentle. I swapped the head. All was good. I swapped the hands the way I wanted them. All was good. Put in one wing very lightly. It's good. I try to put in the other wing. Boop. It just pops apart. Like it didn't even, there was no pressure. It just, boom, it just broke like it was a Cheez-It or something. Like it just popped apart. And of course, the way Super 7 figures always break is the peg is stuck in the hole and the whole piece broke off of it. So it's like completely damaged. I had to just glue the wing to his back. He looks cool from the front. He's an awesome figure, but again, I wish he was shinier. He's really dull. The gold is really dull on him. But he looks really cool. He looks just like the suit from the TV show. But anyway, back to Genghis Frog. Yeah. I mean, it's cool that Super 7 makes these big, chunky, huge-headed, outside of the box kind of figure designs, like inspired by the Playmates originals. I do like that. I do get sick of everyone just, looking like a regular humanoid 6-foot person with like correct head proportions and all that stuff. Like, I like that they do the crazy builds. But unfortunately, they don't do good weight distribution. My Genghis Frog has horrible hip joints. They still have those. People have been complaining about Super 7 having weak hip joints for like 4 years now, and they just keep on doing it. They need to reinforce that somehow because I want to have him squatting. I'm not even trying to do a crazy pose. He's not like doing a handstand on his surfboard and all that crap. He's not doing some crazy pose. He's just squatting, turning to the side, pointing his gun, and holding his surfboard, holding his boogie board. That's it. He's just squatting and looking at you, basically, and holding his accessories. And he just keeps falling. Like, I reposition him. I lean him back so that it looks stupid and doesn't even look like the pose I want anymore. He still falls over. His legs just keep, like, gradually sagging more and more until he just falls. The Super 7 toys, like, the way they already have such limited articulation, and the articulation is so weak that you really can't do anything with them except just stand them straight up. And that's how you pose them. And that's extremely boring, in my opinion. That doesn't make for a cool display at all. And I know in the past, I always said I like design over posability, because when the posability starts to break up the sculpt, I don't like that. But Super 7, they just need a little more articulation, or honestly, I don't think they need more articulation. I think they just need better articulation. Like, they just need stronger joints. They just need to make the bottom half out of like sturdier plastic than the top half or something. I don't know. They never come with stands. They never come with the clear claw stands. I don't like those anyway, but at least they could come with them. They don't come with what I would want is just like, a little disc of plastic, a little heavy disc of plastic, or maybe even cast metal with a couple little foot pegs on it, and just, plug them into the foot pegs, and then they don't fall over. Like, that's all we need. And they don't ever give you stands with Super 7. It's like against their religion or something. Like, they will never give you a stand, even though their figures have such bad weight distribution and such weak leg joints. They kind of need them more than any other company. Like, NECA throws in stands a lot, and I usually never have to use them. I shouldn't say a lot. They throw them in sometimes, and I almost never use them because it's like, I know I can do crazy dynamic poses with NECA figures, and they just stand fine. They never fall over. Some of them do, but most of them don't. Super 7, they just fall over all the time. And yeah, I'm just sick of these toys breaking. And I know it's getting old. I just keep talking about, I got more Super 7 figures and they broke, and I hate this toy line. I'm not going to collect it anymore. And then I just keep collecting it. But we are getting to the point now where, these less interesting waves are coming up, where I'm like just getting Rat King or something from a wave. And I'm just getting Classic Rocker Leo. And when I get those, if I get Classic Rocker Leo and he just breaks, then it's like, I don't care. I'm not going to care enough to buy another Classic Rocker Leo. I was able to get another Ray Fillet for for like really cheap, like $25, I think, or something off eBay. That's the only reason I bought another one. I was not going to buy another one for full price because the last one, his leg broke. When Genghis Frog fell the first time, he took down Ray Fillet and broke his leg off. Originally, I had Genghis Frog like mounted to the wall, like where I kind of like held him up with screws, which I do with tons of my figures, and none of them have fallen before. But Genghis Frog fell originally like that and took everyone down and broke Ray Fillet and everything. So now I just wanted to put Ray Fillet standing behind the two surfers, like Mike the Sewer Surfer and Genghis Frog, but he can't fit. There's not enough room because Genghis Frog is fucking huge. I don't know why this guy is so huge. Like in the cartoon, the Punk Frogs were even shorter than the Turtles. They were really little guys. The original action figures, they were all kind of the same size, but like his head was way bigger than like Casey Jones or Ace Duck or Usagi, kind of implying that if you shrink his head to be the size of the other characters' heads, he'll kind of be the correct height. Like this guy should have been at the very most as big as Ace Duck in the Super 7 line. He shouldn't have been as massive. He's gigantic. He's like the size of fucking Rocksteady. This guy's huge. He's a fucking frog. I don't know why they made the frog so big. So to me, that's just weird. I don't get why they made him so big. And it's really creating a lot of problems because he's hunched over and he has these skinny legs with bad joints. It just makes him fall over all the time. And that's enough bitching about Super 7. I don't really have anything else to say. God damn it. I'm so sick of this company making these figures that piss me off. But NECA did put out their, 25 nights of downloads or 31 days of downloads, something like that. Their Christmas download sheets of all the toys. And, they do that every year. Last year, it's how we learned about like the Space Usagi and Space Donatello and everything, which Space Usagi is hitting store shelves now. I've seen him in stores. I still haven't seen that revised April they did earlier this year back at Collectathon. I've never seen that, or Haulathon. I've never seen that show up. I really need that. But they showed off all the comic book lines and all the movie lines and stuff. And I don't think there's a single new figure actually being shown off on either of them. I think they're all just stuff we saw at Toy Fair and stuff and Comic-Con. So I don't think there's actually anything new on those sheets, which is kind of nice because, in past years, it's like, oh, crap, here's all this stuff I got to spend money on this year. But this year, there's really not that much I have to spend money on. Like, we know everything coming out for NECA. We know we're going to get, Wolfman Raph and Mondo Gecko from Archie and stuff. Like, we know what's coming. Yeah, but it's a little sad because it almost makes me think that the NECA Turtle lines are clearly past their prime. If they're not showing off new exciting figures now, like they did every year with these, it's safe to say that they're kind of on their, I don't want to say they're on their way out. That sounds so pessimistic, and they're clearly going to keep making these things for years. But like the hype that there was for the past 3 or 4 years is gone. People are still excited for them, but I don't think the NECA line's ever going to be what it was. They haven't put out a Toon one, I'm pretty sure. I think they just did the movie and the comic ones. So there might be new announcements on the Toon one if they haven't put that out yet. At the time of this recording, they haven't. But yeah, it's a little disappointing. It's a little bit of a bummer. It's always fun to see the new stuff that's coming. And, they didn't really show off a lot of stuff for Halloween this year for 31 nights of Halloween. I don't remember really seeing a lot of the Universal Monster Turtles, or hell, even the regular Universal Monsters and the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff I was hoping to get an update on. They didn't really do anything for the 31 nights of Halloween. So it's a little disappointing that NECA's, kind of putting out less and less reveals. But they did a lot of them for all their brands back at Comic-Con and Toy Fair and stuff. So I can't fault them too much. Maybe they just blew their load at those, and they went too far there, and maybe they should have held some of that back and showed it to us at these times of years. But regardless, it's still cool. There's still a lot of exciting stuff coming out for NECA this year for Turtles. Definitely hyped for that. Lot more hyped for what NECA is doing than what Super 7 is doing. And there's other things that NECA is doing I'm hyped for, like the dinosaurs, Jim Henson dinosaurs, and a lot of the Toonie Terrors and stuff. There's a lot of stuff I'm excited for. So really looking forward to what NECA is putting out this year, regardless of whether it's TMNT or not. When I think back to the Christmases of my early childhood, nothing pops into my head more than Nintendo and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is all I wanted when I was that age. And I think a lot of kids were in the same boat. In the late 80s and early 90s, Ninja Turtles dominated the holiday season. That was during Turtle Mania. That was when they were like the biggest franchise in America. And man, I just have so many memories attached to Christmas at that time, getting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. I don't remember too much like the earlier years. So I got my first action figure in July of 1989. I got Leonardo. Then in September, my brother got Raphael for his birthday, and we kind of started acquiring figures after that. I'm pretty sure for that first Christmas, I got Metalhead. I want to say I got Metalhead that first Christmas. But I don't remember everyone we got. But the next year, that was like I moved into my new place. For my birthday that year, I got Slash and Casey Jones, which were pretty cool figures. But then for Christmas, we got a lot of stuff. That was when I got the Technodrome, and my brother got the Sewer playset, which were freaking awesome. I still want to get those back at some point. Like I really want those, but I've just never had an opportunity to get them back. Where I had the money and I was willing to spend it on that. So I would really like to. I'm also a bit of a completionist. I'd want them to be complete or almost entirely complete if I were to get them back. But yeah, I mean, I loved those. I loved the Technodrome. I probably played with the Sewer playset more, but the Technodrome looked cooler. Like the Sewer playset was bigger and more spacious, and you could more easily like play around in it and like, act out scenes in it and put multiple figures in there at once. Whereas the Technodrome, you really just had these tight little sections where you could barely even fit the figures. And there was really just one thing in each part that you were supposed to do, like one function in each part. And it was still awesome. There were so many play features in that. When you put it all together, it looked so cool. But I think for playability's sake, the Sewer playset was definitely the winner of the two. But the Technodrome is a cooler centerpiece in your action figure collection. But I don't remember too well what figures I got that year for Christmas, but I do remember the next year. The next year was that must have been 1991, Christmas 1991. Boy, that was a big haul. I got so much stuff that year. That was just like the best Turtles Christmas. The world really wished me a Turtles Christmas that year. My grandparents on my father's side, they gave me like a Santa plush Raph, which is actually in the right there. It's in the overlay that we have down there. I loved that thing. I'm pretty sure I fell asleep with it in my arms that night because the next morning I was down there with all my toys. I was playing with it all night, but I've seen photos of, the next morning and it's laying there with all the toys. So I probably carried it downstairs with me that morning from the night before. And I got Shell Slam and Mike, the wrestling Mike figure. I got Slapshot Leo, the hockey Leo figure, both from the sports series. I got Pandacon. I got Fugitoid. And like those are just the characters I got. My brother got a bunch of them also. I think that's when he got Ray Fillet, if I'm not mistaken. He got a bunch of characters. I think he got was it Shell Kick and Raph? The soccer Raph. He got a bunch of them. And he might have even gotten Slam Dunk and Don then. I don't remember. We got a lot of them. He probably did. We probably got like 4 sports turtles at that time. But we got so much stuff. I got like a Rock'em Sock'em Robots game that was like Michelangelo and Shredder. Maybe it was Raphael. I think it was Michelangelo and Shredder, but it was like, Rock'em Sock'em Robots. You punch the other one and the head pops up and stuff. Like we just got so much stuff. Oh, I got the blimp and glider that Christmas, and my brother got what did he get? He got the party wagon. The accessory our podcast is named after. He got the party wagon. We got so much crap. Oh, I even got the cheapskate too, the one that had the big Michelangelo face in the front, all the hot pink. And I think he got Turtles 2, the arcade game, the year before, because he got Turtles 1 the first year. I want to say 1990 he got the first game. So yeah, I think he got Turtles 2 this year, actually, the NES game. So we got a lot of Turtle stuff. We might have even gotten the movie that year. No, I think we would have gotten Secret of the Ooze that year. We got Secret of the Ooze, and it came with a Pizza Hut coupon, and the game came with the Pizza Hut coupon, I think. The game, yeah, I'm all over the place. Turtles 2, the arcade game, came with a Pizza Hut coupon, and yeah, so did the arcade game, though, right? And there was so much Turtles. There was just so much Turtles that Christmas. That was like the best Christmas of my early childhood for sure. Best haul probably, and I probably got like some other crazy NES games. That might have been when I got Snake Rattle and Roll. I don't know. I got a bunch of stuff that year. That was a great Christmas. Greatest Turtles Christmas ever. And to be honest, I don't even remember the next year. I don't remember that much about it. Because I feel like I think I got was Dr. L out yet? I think I got Dr. L that year for Christmas. I don't remember. I just remember that 91 one. That was the biggest Turtles Christmas ever. That was such a good year to be a Turtles fan. But yeah, those were some. But yeah, those were some great memories. And just for fun, I figured let's look at what the top selling toys of all the years in Turtle Mania were. Now, I have several lists. I just found them from different websites. I don't know how accurate they are. Some of them are top 10, some of them are top 5, some of them are just, we didn't give a shit. We just put as many as we felt like it. But I just thought it'd be interesting to look at, because I think of the Turtle Mania years for the action figure line as 1988 to 1993. I know it went past that, but 93 was like the end. That was when we got Turtles 3. That was when like the obsession with Ninja Turtles kind of just died. That was kind of like when it really was just clearly on its way out. That was the last year I really cared about them. So I still got a couple in 94, but like it was really like done in 93. So I think of 88 when it started to 93. Obviously, I personally didn't start collecting it until 89. But, to be fair, 88 was the year they blew up for Christmas. So first, with Business Insider, this is where this is coming to you from, we have just a top 10 and just a top action figure. So coming to you from Business Insider, that's who wrote this article. So don't at me if I'm wrong, but they go from 1988 and onward, just with the top selling Christmas toys of each year. So 1988, I'll go into individual years, 88 through 93, of like the top toys of those years after this. But first, they say 1988, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. That does not surprise me in the least. That was the era of just everyone loving Nintendo. We were all slaves to Nintendo. I didn't have mine yet. I was like just a baby. I was little. I got it the next Christmas in 89, but yeah, 88, 89. And that's when like most families had a Nintendo now. Like it was blowing up in 86, 87, but I think by the time you got to 88, 89, that's when it was like a mandatory part of everybody's entertainment center in their house. So I definitely understand the NES being there. I remember my grandmother on my dad's side gave us that in 89. I remember getting that, and that just seeming like the craziest present. Like we were in the future now. And it came with Mario Bros. Duck Hunt. We also got baseball with it, the black box baseball. But that lasted like a week, and then like it just got lost. And I never cared because I didn't ever want to play that game. The clear winner was Super Mario Brothers right from the start, and everyone was obsessed with it at first. My oldest sister was into it. The younger of the two older sisters didn't really care that much. She never really cared that much about video games, but the oldest of the two was very into it. My older brother was really into it. My dad was actually really into it. like, I couldn't really play. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just run into the first Goomba and die because I was so little. But yeah, I was into it. I loved watching them play it. And it was just awesome. Like my dad would come home from work and be like, "Oh, the guys in the office told me there's a secret where if you jump on a Koopa shell of a bunch of times, you get a bunch of one-ups and you get a crown next to your name and all this stuff." And it was just the early days of gaming, and everything was magical and mysterious back then. And I remember the first time because I barely played. It was like my dad was the best, then my oldest sister, then my older brother. Then when we moved, my older brother like got way better and everyone else kind of stopped playing, and I started to play more. My dad stopped because my mom was like, video games are the devil. They're going to make our kids stupid. They're going to rot their brains, which they probably did actually. And I think she told my dad, like, stop playing them. Oh my God, Fred, come on, puppy. My mom was in the camp that video games will rot your brain. They probably did. I'm probably an idiot because of playing too much Nintendo. She was strongly against them. I think she told my dad like stop encouraging them, stop playing them with them, and making them want to play these more and more. And eventually he did. But yeah, I remember those early years. Everyone would gather around the Nintendo at night, and we'd all play it, and it was a ton of fun. The first time I got past the first Goomba, everyone like cheered for me, even my mom. They're like, "Yeah, he finally did it." And then I died from the second Goomba. Yeah, great memories though. We rented a bunch of games. I remember renting Jaws and Pac-Man and Donkey Kong Classics, which had Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., which is funny to think they were calling them classics at that point when those games were only a few years old. But yeah, it was a good time. I definitely understand Nintendo being 1988's dominant toy of the holiday season. 1989, according to Business Insider, was the Nintendo Game Boy. The Nintendo owned the end of the 80s. And again, that's not surprising at all. The Game Boy was fucking massive. That was a huge present. I didn't have a Game Boy growing up. I didn't get a portable console until 2006. My friend Kenny bought me a Game Boy Advance SP. Before that, I never had a handheld console. I was never really a handheld guy. I was more of like a home console guy. Even the Switch, I really never play it on the go that much. I usually just play it docked. But yeah, I remember the Game Boy was huge. I do remember one Thanksgiving visiting family in Pennsylvania, and my cousin, he had a Sega Genesis and a Game Boy. So it was like, ooh, we get to see the two consoles we don't own. And I just remember like we played a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog that day and Fun and Games on Sega Genesis. I was getting into because you could like make your own stuff. And, my brother was just fiending on Tetris and Dr. Mario on Game Boy the whole day. I remember hearing the Tetris sound effects all day. Yeah, I didn't really play a lot of Game Boy. There was like some moments over the years in school. I remember doing the Christmas play one year. Every grade had to do like their own song in the Christmas play. We had to do like what was that? Like the Hawaiian one, the Hawaiian Christmas. That's like in like Christmas Vacation and stuff. Um, but I remember like some kid had like a Game Boy with Super Mario Land 2, 6 gold coins in it, and he just kind of handed it to me to go talk to his friends. Like, here, you can play this. And I remember playing the big like mechanical Mario world. But yeah, Game Boy wasn't a big thing for me, but I know that was a damn huge thing, especially like 89, 90. Like everyone had to have a Game Boy. But according to them, 1990, you know what the hottest item was in 1990? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figures. And again, that doesn't surprise me at all because I was there, man. I was right on the front lines collecting that shit. So I remember all I wanted for Christmas in 1990 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's all I wanted. So that doesn't surprise me in the least that that was the highest selling toy that, you know, every kid was just getting the most amount of Turtles figures that year or the next year. Not surprising at all. You know, Turtle Mania was a big deal. I think even today, when you try to explain to people who weren't there, people who were too young to be there or weren't into turtles at the time, you can't quite articulate just how massive Turtles really was as a franchise back in the late 80s and early 90s. Like, it was huge. It was everywhere. It was like the only franchise a lot of kids cared about. For me, it was really like Ninja Turtles and Nintendo, like Mario and Ninja Turtles is like nothing even came close to those two. There was plenty of other things I liked, but nothing came as close to those two. Uh, I loved them so much, especially Ninja Turtles was like, I was obsessed. So I think clearly that's why I'm still here talking about them. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. 1990, I think 91, 90, 91, and 92 were like the biggest years for Turtles. I think 90 and 91 were the biggest years for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And 1990 is when the best wave of figures came out, in my opinion. You know, we got Mondo Gecko, Ray Fillet, Muckman and Joe Eyeball, Wingnut and Screw Loose, Scumbug, Mutagen Man, Triceratom. We got so many good figures that year. Best sculpts in the whole line, probably. Just great year for action figures. Not surprised at all by 1990. 1991, also not surprised. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The Super NES was new that year in America. Super Mario World was new. And I remember that was the biggest thing. Everybody needed a Super Nintendo. I didn't get mine until 1994, Christmas 94. So it wasn't really until like 1995 that like the Super Nintendo became like my main console. So I was late to the party, but man, the Super Nintendo was huge. And it's just funny when you go back and look at this, that like for 4 years in a row, only one of them wasn't owned by Nintendo. Like Nintendo had the hottest selling item every year in a row back then, except for one. And that's just insane, man. They were on top of the world. Nintendo ruled the world back then. I always think like, you know, my biggest things were Nintendo and Ninja Turtles, but looking at this right here is like, I guess I was the most generic kid of the time because in that time period, those were the hottest toys. That's what everybody loved. So I guess I was just kind of like, you know, your average kid. But I mean, hey, those are really good things. This is where it starts to change. So this is where it's very different. 1992, Barney doll. Barney the dinosaur, he was new. And that was the biggest thing was a stuffed plush toy of Barney. Those things were freaking everywhere. I remember going to like the doctor's office, dentist's office. They would just have a little Barney plush just sitting there. Every kid had one. I remember my mom was babysitting kids at that time, and like they all had Barney dolls and stuff. You know, I was a little too old for Barney at that point. I wasn't that old. I was still a really little kid, but and I still watched Barney, but it was like already considered lame if you liked Barney by that age. I think more than any other franchise, like kids franchise at that point, Barney was like the most hated kids franchise. And I don't really get it. Like, I don't get why adults and even older kids just felt the need to go out of their way to dump on this completely stupid, innocent, idiotic show. Like, it's obviously just like some dumbed down children's show. I don't get why people went so crazy against Barney. Like people wanted to murder Barney so badly. I guess his voice was annoying. I don't know. Some people were scared of him, but most people seemed to love him. I don't know. He was a big deal. He didn't bother me. 1993, inspired by Home Alone 2, The Talk Boy. That was that little voice recorder thing that he uses throughout the movie, and he uses it to just mimic the scene from the first movie with the Angels with Dirty Souls. This might be a hot take. I don't really like Home Alone 2. I know a lot of people love Home Alone 2. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I can sit and watch it and enjoy it enough, but it's like, to me, it's one of the most hollow movie experiences because it's probably the first sequel I ever noticed as a kid just redoes every single scene from the first film. Like after a while that became very popular, that especially with comedies, that like they just redo every joke and every scene and every setup from the previous movie or movies in the sequels. And I think Home Alone 2 is the first time I really noticed that, because remember I saw it and I was like, I don't really like this as much as the first one. I loved the first one. The second one just felt like a cheap imitation. Like every little setup, every little thing that happens is a mirror of something that happened at that exact same point in the movie in the first movie. It really just feels like they took the first movie and put like a New York skin on it. I don't know. To me, it's not as funny. The jokes aren't as funny. The characters are more over the top and written to be a bit more cartoonish, so it's a little harder to swallow. It feels like a step back for the franchise, in my opinion. I think the first one has so much more heart, so much more emotion, so much more actual funny comedy, so much more clever writing and setup and everything. This one just, like Home Alone 2 just feels like so forced. I don't know. It just feels like a step backwards. It feels like someone trying to rip off the first one and failing. But I've heard a lot of people love Home Alone 2. There's even some people who consider it better than the first one. So I'm probably in the minority. Tim Curry's great. He's like the only good thing in there. I don't know why Tim Curry keeps coming up so much in this podcast. He's awesome. But yeah, I never really got into Home Alone 2. And I've watched it again multiple times over the course of my life, over different stages of my life. And I always feel the same way about it. I just feel like it's a ripoff. I just feel like, I don't know. I'll never accept it as a true sequel. Like Home Alone is a one and done deal. And I know there's like 6 of them or something, but like Home Alone is a one and done deal for me. You watch the first one, and that's it. So that's all the Turtle Mania years, but let's just for fun see what else before we jump into what were the lists of hottest selling toys for all those years. Let's look at what was hot for the rest of the 90s and all. 1994, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers toys. That is not surprising at all. Power Rangers was humongous, and like I said, 93 was kind of the end of the Turtles, the Turtle Mania days, and Power Rangers really is the thing that like took the torch. Like Ninja Turtles passed the torch to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Even the title, like that when they brought Super Sentai to America, they're like, okay, that was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ours is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's like the same amount of words and syllables and everything. 1995 Beanie Babies, Thai Beanie Babies. That I remember them being bigger way later, like 96, 97, that school year they were big. Then the year after that, I remember them being huge. If you said Christmas 1996 Beanie Babies were the big thing, that I would have believed. This sounds too early. I don't remember them being big in 95. I would have thought like Sony PlayStation would be like the hottest selling toy that year or something. So that's really weird to me. I guess I'm just remembering it wrong. Or maybe like kids in my school like were late to the party. They got it later. I don't know. 1996 Tickle Me Elmo. I thought that was 97. So like I'm messed up when it comes to the 90s. I'm remembering this wrong. 97 Tamagotchi. I thought that was 98. Or actually, no, it could have been 97. Yeah, because I had moved to a public school at that point, and that was the school year of 97, 98. Yeah, Tamagotchis were big then. I can see that. Furby is 1998. See, I would have thought Furbies would be where Tickle Me Elmo was, and Tickle Me Elmo would be like 97, 98. Or, I don't know. I'm way off with this. Maybe Furbies came later than I thought they did. I always hated Furbies. Like, I never got the appeal of them. They were just weird. They're ugly. They're freaking stupid. 1999 Pokemon merchandise. Just merchandise. Anything with Pokemon written on it. That is not surprising at all. I'm a little surprised it wasn't for 98 also, actually, because school year of 98, 99 was when like kids in my grade were obsessed with Pokemon. That was like the franchise. So it's a little surprising they only had this 1 year, 99. Because 99, 2000, that was when kids in my grade were acting like they were too cool for Pokemon, even though they were clearly all still into it and still watching the cartoon and everything, playing the games. But you were supposed to act like you were too cool for it. But I guess younger kids were still just as into it, if not more into it. So I can definitely see that being one. 2000 Razor Scooter, those things were freaking everywhere in 2000, 2001. That doesn't surprise me at all. 2001 Bratz dolls, I thought those were later. I thought that was like 2004, 2005 or something. Maybe I'm wrong. 2002 Beyblades. 2003 and 2004 Robo Sapien. I remember like the Robo Raptor or whatever. I don't remember Robo Sapien. Maybe I saw it all the time. I just don't remember. It was a while ago. 2005 Xbox 360, 2006 PlayStation 3, 2007 Nintendo DS, 2008 Nintendo Wii. Wow, at some point kids stopped caring about toys and just wanted video games. This list just becomes nothing but video games at some point. 2009 Zuzu Pets. I don't even know what the hell those are. I guess I'm too old. It's like a hamster in a car. I don't know what the hell that is. 2010 iPad. Wow, what a toy. 2011 Leap Pad Explorer. It's just a shittier iPad. It's a Leapfrog iPad. What the fuck is this thing? Oh, priced at about $100. I guess since it was made for kids, they couldn't go on like dark, horrible websites like they can on an iPad. And it's only $100. Maybe parents liked it a lot better. 2012, the Wii U. I thought the Wii U like bombed. I liked the Wii U. I mean, like functionally as a console, like hardware wise, it's not very good. But I think like the interactive stuff, like Miiverse and all that stuff was great. The online browser was great. The games were great. The controller I thought was actually pretty darn good. But a lot of people slept on the Wii U. People hated the Wii U. I'm kind of surprised that was the top toy. There must not have been much competition that year. 2013 Big Hugs Elmo. I don't even freaking remember that. They tried to bring that back, I guess. They wanted to like flash back to the 90s. Like, let's make another Elmo thing. let's recreate the Tickle Me Elmo craze. 2014 Elsa doll. That's not surprising. 2013 holiday season, like Frozen came out and blew the fuck up, and everything was Frozen for like 2 or 3 years after that. How you still see Frozen stuff everywhere when you go to the stores. Like, just go to Walmart. Like, half that store is Frozen. 2015 BB-8 Star Wars toy droid. That was huge. I actually do remember specifically that this was said to be the hottest selling toy for Christmas that year. So that one I actually do remember. 2016 Hatchimals and the NES Classic. I remember the NES Classic being huge. I've heard of Hatchimals before. I have no idea what the hell they are. It sounds like some kind of blind box scam action figure, or not actually a plush toy, like some toy for kids. It's like, which one are you going to get? Waste money on 500 and get all of them. 2017 Fingerlings. What the fuck are these? They're like monkeys that hold on to your fingers. This is weird. That's it. This thing stops in 2015, I guess, or was it 2017? 2017. Nothing after 2017 matters, apparently, according to this list. So yeah, that's crazy. Not that much changed over those years when you really think about it, because it's like we started with Nintendo Game Boy, then very soon after that Super Nintendo was all like video game stuff. Then you get to the late 2000s and it's like Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo DS, Nintendo Wii U. It's like people just love video games, man. Since I was born, video games have kind of just been like the ultimate toys. So Now let's look at 1988. So that's not my first Christmas. I was born in 86, but 1988 was the start of the Turtles action figure line. So let's see if they make this list of the top toys of 1988. This is according to 99.9 The Point. Was that a radio station or something? I actually have no idea. Number one, the Nintendo Entertainment System. We established that already. Not surprising. And they show the full thing with the Zapper. That was when the orange Zapper was out. That's the one I had as a kid. It's the exact setup I got. No Gyromite or Rob or anything. I got an NES, 2 controllers, all the wires, the Zapper, and Mario Duck Hunt in the box. Number 2, just Barbie. Just anything Barbie. That's not surprising. She's probably on the list every year since like 1955. Like whenever the hell she came out in the 50s, that's probably like from that year on, Barbie is probably on every list because, you know, kids love Barbie. Barbie has never stopped being popular. I mean, just look at how well that movie did this summer. That made insane amounts of money. So not surprising at all. If you slap the name Barbie on something, it's going to make money. It's going to get bought. Number 3, Micro Machines. I had a lot of Micro Machines, actually. I still actually have a carrying case for Micro Machines. It's black, like case, the little buckle on the side. You open it up and it had like trays, almost like egg cartons, where you put a ton of little Micro Machines in, and they were like stacked, like layers. I lost all the trays and stuff, and the front image like chipped off because it was like embossed. It chipped off, but I still have the case, and it's filled with drawings I drew back when I was in like high school, junior high, like stuff from like 9th grade, 10th grade, stuff I had hanging on my walls that I drew back in like 2000, 2001. That's what that case is full of. So it's kind of a trip for me to go back and look through that. Cause not only is it like trip, like, oh man, this is my Micro Machines case from, 1989 or whenever the hell I got it. But it's also like, oh, here's all these drawings I had hanging on my wall back when I was in junior high. But, yeah, Micro Machines are cool. I had a lot of those though. They were kind of Hot Wheels were awesome, but I think Micro Machines were more fun to collect for me because you could just have so many of them. They had so much variety too. They had like tanks and jets, like fighter jets and all this stuff, and Jeeps and military Jeeps and Hummers and crap. They had every vehicle that ever existed. And there were these tiny little things. So you could have so many of them together at once, especially in that carrying case, all the trays. You could lay them all out. And it was just a nice collection to look at. And it didn't take up a lot of space. If you're going to collect something, it's a toy line that you don't want to take up a lot of space in your house, get Micro Machines. Micro Machines were awesome. Number 4 is the game Pictionary, the board game. That's crazy. I don't think it was new. It had been around for a while at that point. I wonder why Pictionary had like a big spike in popularity then. I know the NES game came out for Pictionary not long after that. That had awesome music for some reason. I think it was the composer who did Silver Surfer. But Pictionary is fun. I mean, it's Pictionary. It's like charades, but drawing, not acting like an idiot. Number 5, real Ghostbusters action figures. Not surprising. Late 80s, I would say like the biggest toy franchise. I would say mid to late 80s, like 85 to 89, the biggest toy franchises were probably Thundercats, real Ghostbusters, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Whereas like before that, it was like He-Man, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. I think like the first half of the 80s are those, and then the second half of the 80s are the other ones I mentioned. Although the previous 3 were still big in the late 80s. It's just like those were the 3 new big ones, was real Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Thundercats. Although I do think real Ghostbusters was a little earlier. When did those come out? When did those first come out? Like 85, 86? I think that I don't remember. I don't remember when the hell they came out, but whatever. Number 6, G.I. Joe action figures. I just said they were huge. I know I put them in the first half, but like I said, those 3 were still huge all through the 80s. Not surprising. I guess She-Ra was a really big one in the mid to late 80s also. G.I. Joe, not surprising. I never really collected G.I. Joe as a kid. I got them a lot in like goodie bags, like party bags when you'd go to like kids' birthday parties or whatever. My brother would, and we would just go full Sid from Toy Story. We would just torture them. We would like there was like a little like band in the middle of them to hold them together. So we would like lay them down and stretch them out, and then like take scissors and cut the band in the middle or something. We would just beat the crap out of the GI Joes. I didn't really like them as a kid. I thought they were boring. I thought they were like too realistic, even though they were wearing like neon orange jumpsuits and all this crazy crap. Looking back at them, they were awesome looking figures, but back then I thought they were boring. I didn't like them. The articulation was very limited and stuff. I had a couple real Ghostbusters figures. I remember having the Wolfman when they did the Universal Monster ones. I remember having the Highway Creeper, I think it was called, like the taxi cab that bends up into a praying mantis monster. I might have had some of the actual Busters, or I might have had Slimer or Stay Puft or something. I don't remember. I don't think I did, but I very well could have. I have the four Ghostbusters now and the Ecto one and all, but I must have actually, because the little clear like translucent ghosts that come with them, when my brother saw my new display of them, he's like, oh, I remember that one. I remember having that figure. So it's like every toy came with one of those little clear ghosts. So we must have had like at least one of the regular Ghostbusters if he remembers having the little ghost that came with them. So they were big. Everyone, whether you liked them or not, like you ended up with Ghostbusters and GI Joe figures when you were a kid. I liked Ghostbusters better. I loved the movie and stuff. I did watch the cartoon show, but it wasn't like one of my top favorite things, but I did watch it. Number 7 is Win, Lose, or Draw, the board game based on what is that? Was that a game show? That was a game show, right? Basically, it's Pictionary. Why were drawing board games so big in 1988? Number 8 was Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels were awesome. They're still awesome. I have a bunch of Hot Wheels in my room, but I only really get the ones that are based on nerdy crap that I like now, like He-Man Hot Wheels and Thundercats and Mario and Universal Monsters and stuff. Hot Wheels were always cool. I remember having like I don't know what it was, a Corvette or something. I called all convertibles Corvettes when I was that little. I didn't know the difference. I thought they both meant like a hot car that doesn't have a roof or you can take the roof off. I didn't realize a Corvette was an actual type of car and that it can like an actual, model. And the Corvette is just any car that I'm sorry, a convertible is just any car that you can take the hood off of, the roof off of, I mean. But yeah, I had I think it was blue. When you put it in water, cold water, it turned purple. I remember thinking that was so cool as a kid. That was the first color changing toy I ever had. Before Ray Light, I had that toy. I remember putting it in the freezer. It would change if you put it in the freezer too. When it got cold, it changed color. Number 9 is starting lineup action figures. These were like sports action figures that came with like cards, like sports cards and stuff. I didn't collect these. I'm just gonna be honest. I didn't collect these. My dad was really into sports. I think he wanted me to be really into sports, but I was never into sports as a kid. This wasn't my thing. Number 10, Dolly Surprise. It's just some baby doll with combable hair. I don't know what the hell this is. I don't know. I don't know what the hell Dolly Surprise is. That doesn't even sound familiar. So I'm sorry. If you're a big Dolly Surprise fan, I'm sorry. I don't remember Dolly Surprise. Now we're in 1989. For some reason, okay, puppy. All right, now we're in 1989. For some reason, there's only 5 in this 1989 list. There's not 10. I don't know why. Maybe there was no cool toys that year or something. I have no idea. But number 1 is the Sega Genesis. Oh my God, Fred, stop it, baby. But number 1 is the Sega Genesis, which is weird because we saw a list earlier that said it was the Game Boy. This one says number 2 is the Game Boy. They say number 1 was the Sega Genesis. I feel like the Game Boy was bigger. I feel like Genesis got bigger in like the 90s, like 90, 91. I think 91 when they got Sonic is like when Genesis really blew up. But even then, Super Nintendo outsold them. I don't think Genesis was ever the highest selling. I could be wrong. It might have outsold the Game Boy, but I don't think it did. But yeah, Sega Genesis was cool. I already basically gave my origin story for Sega Genesis on here when I first played Sega and Game Boy for the first time. Number 3 is My Little Pony. I didn't remember them being that little. Actually, they're really little. Maybe I don't think this picture is actually vintage. I think there's like newer ones that are made to look like the vintage ones. But My Little Pony, yeah, was. Oh, dude, I just learned something. So there was an unsuccessful My Pretty Pony line in 1981, and then they made My Little Pony, and that became huge. I guess My Pretty Pony were like realistic looking ponies that you could comb their hair, and then they're like, let's make them tiny and cute, and I guess those sold way better. I don't know anything about My Little Pony. Never got into it. I don't even know if my sisters were that into it. They might have been. They were really big into Barbie. They were more into like dolls that are like, you know, teenage girls and stuff. My oldest sister was into She-Ra. The second older one was into like she had like baby dolls and stuff. I don't think they really. I think they did have My Little Ponies, but I don't think it was like a huge thing for them. The younger of the two of my older sisters also she liked Strawberry Shortcake. She really liked the character Blueberry Muffin. That was like her favorite Strawberry Shortcake character. Number 4, He-Man action figures. Wait, in 1989? I know they were still big all throughout the 80s, but like they stopped making new figures in 1987. That was the last year they made new figures, I'm pretty sure. And the TV show had been done for years at that point. So I'm pretty surprised. I don't know how trustworthy this list is. This is danburycountry.com. I don't know the hell this site is, but they swear that He-Man toys were really big in 1989. They were the 4th highest selling toy of the year, which I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I feel like Ninja Turtles would have already been on here. They would have been outselling that. At least like Thundercats or WWF wrestling figures or something would be higher than He-Man. Even She-Ra, I think, would be higher than He-Man at this point. Number 5 is Polly Pocket. I remember Polly Pocket from the 90s being big. I didn't know it was like already a thing in the 80s. I didn't know that. I don't think anyone in my family ever had Polly Pocket. I never even had the Mighty Max, which was like the little boy version of Polly Pocket, where you would have like an ugly monster head, like a cyclops head or a skull or a snake, and you'd open it up and there'd be like some lair with like lava and monsters. I never had that. I never had any of these, but I guess Polly Pocket was really big, and I think that's all we get. Yeah, they don't list anymore. They just do the top 5 for 89. I don't know why. I call bullshit that the NES wasn't on there. That would still probably be on there. That Ninja Turtles toys weren't on there. I call bullshit on that list. Let's move on to 1990. What are the top toys of 1990? So on the other list we saw, they said it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures, which definitely were the highest selling figure present on there. I guess on this one they don't list that, but I guess that's because they're not considering an entire line. I think they're just this list specifically at Hot 96.9. I guess it's another radio station. I don't know. I know Hot 97. This is like the number before that. I don't know. I guess they're not counting an entire line. They're just counting individual like items. So each Turtles figure is kind of its own thing. So according to them, the number 1 selling thing was New Kids on the Block concert kits. I don't even know what the hell that means. I don't know what that means. Was it like model kits? Were they like dolls, or was it like a fake mutant like microphone? And I don't know what the hell that means. Did anybody have the New Kids on the Block concert kit back in 1990? Was it the right stuff to own? I mean, I like New Kids on the Block. Well, they had some cool songs, but I don't know what the hell that is, though. I don't remember that being a thing. 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Party Wagon. Party Wagon was big. That was a huge toy at the time. And in the commercial here, you can see it also shows the foot cruiser and the pizza launcher. I didn't even remember those came out as far back as the same time as the Party Wagon. That makes sense. They'd want to make a big car for the Foot Clan to rival the turtle wagon, party wagon, turtle van, whatever the hell you want to call it, party wagon. So yeah, I can see that if they couldn't just say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're doing each item individually, the party wagon would be the biggest one because that's a big item. You're probably not going to get it just throughout the year like you will character figures. And everyone wanted different character figures, whereas everybody wanted the party wagon. Everyone wanted to, put their figures in that wagon. So that makes a lot of sense that the party wagon would be the hottest selling of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff from that time. Number 3 is My Pretty Ballerina. I vaguely remember commercials for this, but I don't remember what it is. My sister, she probably liked it. The younger of the 2 older sisters probably liked it. She always wanted to be a ballerina. She was obsessed with Angelina Ballerina. So she probably liked that. She probably had that, honestly. I don't even freaking remember. Batman the Dark Knight action figures. I didn't even know like that was a thing you heard in like pop culture back then, calling him the Dark Knight. Like I knew like that was like a name of his, but I didn't know that was like a mainstream name of his until Nolan made his movies. But Batman was huge. 1990, that was right after 89. That was right after we got the Batman movie. That was in between the first Batman movie and Batman Returns. That was when I think the animated series was out. I think that came out. No, I think that came out in 91. I could be wrong. But Batman was hot at that time. People loved Batman. So I can definitely see that being a big one. Dr. Mario on NES. Yeah, that was a big one. I remember the commercial. We played a witch doctor from the Alvin and the Chipmunks. Yeah, that was a big game. I'm kind of surprised. That's like the biggest NES game of 1990, really? Of like all the games count, like Ninja Gaiden 2, and I guess puzzle games are games everybody plays. I guess like everyone will play a puzzle game because anyone can get into it. It's so easy. It's just a simple buy. It's just a simple play. I guess I can understand that. That makes sense. Okay. I buy it. WWF Superstars action figures. Whoa, wait a second. Oh my God, Fred, puppy. He never barks this much. He's just doing it because he wants attention. WWF Superstars action figures. Whoa, wait a second. So they're doing the whole line of WWF Superstars, but they wouldn't do the whole line of Ninja Turtles. They only did the Party Wagon. That's fishy, guys. This list is weird. Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake, $1 Million Man, Randy Savage. Yeah, but that was a pretty damn good time for wrestling. I can definitely see why in 1990 WWF Superstars action figures were huge because like you had all like the biggest wrestlers of all time at that point. I mean, not all of them. You have The Rock and stuff, but still, it's like you had Hulk. That was during Hulkamania. It was Turtle Mania and Hulkamania. Hulk Hogan was like God in the eyes of everybody back then. Like there was like a few celebrities: Hulk Hogan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Macaulay Culkin. Like those in 1990, those celebrities were considered the coolest freaking things in the world. So it's not surprising at all that the wrestling figures are that high. Nintendo Game Boy is the next one, which not surprising at all. Game Boy was big, not only in 89 when it came out, but Game Boy was big all the way until Game Boy Advance came out. Like Game Boy lasted to like 2003, 2002. That's insane. 1989 to like 2002. What a long living console. I mean, I know they had like updates. They had like the Game Boy Light and the Game Boy Color and the colored Game Boys and all that stuff, Game Boy Pocket and all that stuff. But it's like it was still the same Game Boy for a while. I think Game Boy Color was the first time there was games you could only play on the Game Boy Color. And then Game Boy Advance, you could play only play the advanced games on a Game Boy Advance, but you could also play backwards compatibility with all Game Boy games. So like the Game Boy Advance SP was the greatest handheld console ever made. That thing was awesome because it was like sleek and small, little flip screen thing. It was backlit, which was great. And it had all these great new games, amazing library of games. And then it also had backwards compatibility with all Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. So like if you're ever only going to get one handheld console, get the Game Boy Advance SP, which ironically is the only one I ever owned. That was the best. That one was awesome. And I'm even just saying that because that was the only one I owned. I honestly didn't even play that much of it. I played most Game Boy Advance games on ROMs and emulators later on. That was definitely the handheld console to own. Obviously, in 1990, you couldn't get that, so the Game Boy was the one to own. And that's it for 1990. I don't think that was even 10. No, that was like 8 or something, 7 or 8. That's weird. Now on MeTV, which I love MeTV. They show Sven Gulli. Actually, I happen to be wearing the Sven Gulli shirt right now, which was actually a Christmas present from my father a few years ago because he knows I like Sven Gulli. He got it from the MeTV store. So I'm glad to see MeTV on here. We're representing MeTV. In 1991, Nickelodeon launched its cartoons Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. The sitcom Step by Step made its TGIF debut. Sun Chips hit grocery store shelves. Nirvana slayed hair metal and changed the sound of rock music. The 90s were truly getting underway. Let's take a look at some of the most uniquely 1991 gifts seen in the Sears catalog. So this probably isn't like the top 10. This is just like some popular ones. Number 1, Super Nintendo Entertainment System. That was a number 1 selling thing in 1991. So maybe this is a true top 10. I already mentioned how big this was. So the Super Nintendo was, I remember when it came out, it was such a big deal. I think some parents were a bit confused. They didn't get it. They didn't get like, well, you already have a Nintendo. Why do we need another one? What's different about this one? Not getting a totally different console with its own games and stuff. So, but I think for the most part, the Nintendo did a good job advertising it and letting you know, like, you can only play Super Mario World if you have the Super Nintendo. So that's not surprising at all. Number 2, the dual deck VCR. Something tells me this isn't just kids' presents. were kids asking for the dual deck VCR from GH Tech? I don't think so. I wasn't. That's for damn sure. I mean, it's cool. That was like where you could record, from one videotape to the other. It was the ultimate way to steal all the movies you rent from the video store. So I can see why this thing was so big. Why everyone wanted one of these, because everyone wanted to just rent movies for a couple dollars from the video store and steal them and either sell them or just keep them. And yeah, I definitely understand why that was big. It's probably big also for kids who liked making movies, or just people who liked making movies. I'm pretty sure James Rolfe from Cinemassacre, when he's done his videos, are like about how he got into filmmaking and the crude guerrilla warfare kind of style ways of filmmaking he used to do when he was a kid. He talks about, like, I believe he talks about a dual VCR that he used that. So yeah, the Swatch Twin Phone. It's a pink plastic phone. I remember the way this thing looks. I don't remember it being like a hot thing, but I can see it. Again, I don't think this is all for kids, but I can see this being hot for little kids, especially little girls. I can see loving this. It has that real, like, angular design, and it's like bright pink. It's actually really nostalgic looking at this thing. I don't remember it, but like specifically, but looking at it is like, oh yeah, man, that was the early 90s and the late 80s. That's what they looked like. So that's pretty awesome. Number 4, Captain Planet action figures. He's our hero. He's going to take pollution down to zero. Captain Planet was big, so it doesn't surprise me that the action figures were some of the highest selling stuff of the time. Again, Tim Curry. Tim Curry was in Captain Planet, so Tim Curry was big, man. He never underestimate the career of Tim Curry. But I never really watched Captain Planet much as a kid. I saw it a few times, and I didn't dislike it, but I just wasn't like a diehard. I didn't watch it all the time. It's like it was one of those things. If it was on, I'd watch it, but I didn't go out of my way to watch it. That was kind of the way like a lot of cartoons were back then. Even stuff I got into a lot later in life, like The Legend of Zelda and Sonic the Hedgehog. When those cartoons were on, I didn't care. I'd watch them if they were on, but I didn't go out of my way to watch them. I didn't even know there were 2 different Sonic cartoons as a kid. I saw episodes from both probably and just thought it was all one cartoon. And I mean, can you blame me? They both were by Deke. They both had Jaleel White. And while no, I wasn't going to pick up on that stuff as a kid. It's like, a lot of cartoons, you watched them, but you didn't really watch them. They just kind of came on, and that's kind of even what like Real Ghostbusters was like for me. Like I liked it when it came on, but I didn't go out of my way to watch it. It just kind of like came on at that time. Probably a lot of cartoons like that, like Mario and Ninja Turtles. I would go out of my way to watch, but yeah. Home fax machine. That is definitely not for kids. Okay, so this list is just Christmas presents that were popular. I guess MeTV is just doing everybody. They're not just doing kids. The first fax designed specifically for the home and no larger than an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. It's impressive. I feel like I still see these fucking things sitting in like, when you work a job and their equipment is just way behind. Like you can tell they haven't updated their equipment in like 30 years. I feel like I still see these fucking things every now and then. And like, when you're working you're working at a certain place. I don't know. Like I still see that design, that like black plastic with kind of rounded buttons and stuff. Like I've been seeing that stuff my whole life. That's like the one type of tech that has never gone away. I don't know why. Number 6 is moon shoes. I remember moon shoes. I thought they were Nickelodeon exclusive. I thought they were made by Nickelodeon, but here nothing calls them Nickelodeon moon shoes. I remember them being advertised on Nickelodeon all the time, though. I remember seeing those commercials a lot in like, when did I start watching Nickelodeon? 92 or something. Yeah, I remember seeing them a lot. Moon shoes. I remember thinking they would look really cool, but they probably didn't even work. Like they were supposed to make you bounce really high. They looked like lunch boxes you'd wear on your feet, and you were supposed to bounce really high with them. You probably didn't bounce high at all. You probably just like jumped a couple times, tripped, and fell on your face like an asshole. Number 7, Rap Man. Yo, it's Rap Man, the world's first keyboard made just for rap. Rap was really big at this time. So I guess it was based on MTV Raps. Yeah, rap was really blowing up at this time. It was like very trendy as, Vanilla Ice appeared in Ninja Turtles and everything. Everybody had a rap song at that point. Like every cartoon had a rap song and everything. Bucky O'Hare started with a rap song and stuff. So I definitely understand why Rap Man was so big that year. Number 8, the Sony Video Walkman. Sure. I don't remember this. Was it like a TV? $21 monthly or Sears Charge Plus. So I guess this thing was expensive. There's an advanced LCD for sharp picture, crystal clear, special color effects included. Somehow I highly doubt that. I highly doubt it's that crystal clear or that advanced. Number 9, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Bart Simpson swag. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle jacket. Cowabunga, dudes. I don't remember seeing any kid wear this fucking jacket. It's a cool jacket. I don't remember seeing a single kid wear this fucking jacket. I don't know how this thing was one of the hottest selling things. Maybe the kids in my school just weren't cool enough to get this. And the kids in my school weren't very cool. So that's not very surprising. But yeah, they just say swag in general. That I can believe that Ninja Turtles and Bart Simpson stuff was really big that year. So not surprising. Vanilla Ice sleeping bags, number 10. Vanilla Ice sleeping bags. They told me to make it cool, so I made it ice. You don't get any cooler than that, you know? I should get a Vanilla Ice sleeping bag. That's enough in 1991. 1992 from Boston's Rock 92.9. Why are all these radio stations putting these lists together? Okay, so we're 1992 now. Here are the top selling toys. X-Men action figures. Different from the list we saw at the beginning for what was number one, but yeah, it's not surprising. X-Men was freaking huge. I remember getting more into X-Men like 93, 94, like that school year. Because I just got into whatever my brother was into, and my brother got into X-Men. But yeah, I can see that in 92 they were already huge, probably. X-Men along with Power Rangers, those were kind of the two things that like rebounded kids from Turtles. Probably X-Men, Power Rangers, and Batman the Animated Series are probably the three biggest cartoons that like taking kids away from Turtle Mania. Hot Wheels Streaks Test Tracks. A lot of X's. We're in the 90s now, so no one spells anything correctly. So it's STREEX, test TRAX. X's and Z's and K's just substituted every letter in the 90s because it was just cooler to spell things stupidly in the 90s for some reason. California Roller Baby. It's a baby with hot pink roller skates. What? I mean, I know Roller Baby is like a song. It's like a Beach Boys song. But like, what? What a stupid toy. Sorry. If you had that as a kid and you loved it, I'm sorry. The Grape Escape. I remember that board game. My brother had that. It had like, what's that Italian song? Like the commercial had like a version of that. And it was just singing about how all different ways your grape can get murdered in this game. It was a Play-Doh game. So you used like a mold to make like a little grape guy. And they go through the board game. And if you land on certain pieces, it's like a scissor would come along and cut them in half and stuff, or a squasher would come down and mash them. It was actually a lot of fun. I don't even remember playing the board game that much. I just remember making them and killing them and laughing my ass off. But I remember Grape Escape, the Grape Escape. Creepy crawlers. Oh, I had one of those. I had a creepy crawler oven. Just the ones that were just bugs and stuff. Later on, they started getting crazier. Eventually, I got one that was like, you get different trays. You get like new like tray sets. I remember getting one that like where you could basically make quote unquote action figures where you'd get like monster body parts and skeleton body parts and stuff. You fill those up with ooze, and they had like little holes and little pegs on them. So you could like put them together and they're kind of articulated, even though they're all flat on the back, but it was cool. I had a lot of fun with those. Creepy crawlers was cool because it cashed in on the gross out crap from the 90s, but it also got your creativity going because you on like how you were going to color them and how you were going to put them together and everything. There was ones you could put like wheels on the bottom of them. You could pull them back and then they drive forward. And it also taught kids patience because you had to wait for those suckers to cook. And I remember the smell. I can still remember the smell to this day. Oh, I love that smell. I can still remember the smell of a creepy crawler, the creepy crawler goo. I still remember how it looks. I still remember how it looks when it gets on your fingers and stuff. Oh man, creepy. That's a blast from the past, man. Creepy crawlers. Creepy crawlers. Those were great. Barbie Golden Dream Motorhome. I don't give a shit. I don't know what the hell that is. Oh, and that's it. That's 1992. Creepy crawlers were the coolest one in my opinion. Those were great. And now let's go on to 1993. I think of 1993 as the end of Turtle Mania. I know this has largely not been a Turtle episode. I was actually expecting there to be more Ninja Turtle references in all of these lists, but there's really not that many, actually, which is kind of surprising. But here we go. The Talk Boy from Home Alone 2. We already talked about that. Yeah, that was big. That was really big. I remember the commercial. They had the commercial on TV like all the time. I saw that. God, I must have seen that commercial like 1,000 times that year. The Nerf Arrow Storm. That was a cool gun. The arrow guns are cool. They're not my favorites though. I think like Nerf. Man, Nerf is so cool. I still want to do an episode on or a video on my channel. Not here, but on my YouTube channel, Brendan's Rambles. I want to do one with my friend Kenny. He was a huge Nerf fan, and he's got like an amazing Nerf collection. He has like all the 90s guns almost. He's got a ton of ammo. They're all like pristine and nice condition. He's got a bunch of the boxes. He's got like multiple versions of them. He's got the ones that were used more, and then he has the ones that are kind of nicer. He has like some promotional stuff from Nerf. He's got a lot of Nerf stuff. So I would love to do a video at some point of me and him just in, going through his collection and talking about everything and looking at everything and stuff and reminiscing about Nerf, because Nerf was awesome, man. I unfortunately didn't have a lot of Nerf as a kid. I had the Blast-O-Matic, which was a ball gun, like kind of like a big bazooka, which ironically was not the Ballzooka. The Ballzooka was more like a Gatling gun, and that one was really cool, but I didn't have that. Yeah, I had a couple as a kid. Usually if I had like toy guns, they were like knockoff things. I guess my parents couldn't always afford the actual Nerf ones, but the Nerf guns were really fun. Super Soakers were really fun. Which actually, Kenny actually gets Super Soakers also. He has some vintage Super Soakers. Not as much as the Nerf stuff, but he has some Super Soakers. Yeah, it's awesome. I had some other Nerf stuff, like little Nerf footballs and stuff as a kid. But yeah, when I got older, and me and Kenny were hanging out all the time, and he was getting back into collecting like all the Nerf stuff from when he was a kid. I picked up some of the newer stuff. I picked up the Secret Shot. No, not the Secret Shot. I'm sorry. I don't remember what it was called. It was like the Enforce series, or like kind of like police guns. There was a simple one that had like, single shot and it carried like 2 darts on the side. I have that. And I got the Maverick. There was a gun called the Maverick, and that I got like the translucent green version of it, the neon green version. It's still awesome. I have that somewhere in my closet, but I wouldn't mind getting some of the vintage ones at some point. It's such an expensive thing to collect, and like my friend already has it, so it's like I don't think I need to really do that deep dive. But the Nerf guns are fun as hell. And one thing that's really cool is they just started putting out reissues of some of a 90s Nerf gun, the original Sharpshooter 1, and it's great. He got one, and it's like brand new. It's so peppy, it's so strong. Man, Nerf guns are so much fun. I might get the reissue of the Sharpshooter. If they start reissuing all the 90s ones, I might get the new versions. Magna Doodle. I forgot about this. I used to see this commercial. Oh, crap. I used to see this commercial all the time on Nickelodeon. I didn't look at these lists before I did this, so I actually didn't know all this stuff was going to be on here. I got some of them. I scrolled down quickly just to see that there wasn't 10, but I didn't really see what each thing was. Magna Doodle. I remember seeing this on Nickelodeons in these commercials where like it's almost like you're drawing with chalk, but you're doing it on a screen like an Etch-a-Sketch, and then you like can like clean the screen and draw a new thing. Yeah, I never had one, but I do remember that. Omega Virus, the board game. I never played this. I never even heard of this as a kid. The only way I know about it is the Board James episode from Cinemassacre. James Rolfe did an episode of Board James about Omega Virus. It was the first one in the final season of the show. Looks like a cool game. Although that robot voice talking just sounds like it's so annoying after a while. It would just drive me crazy. Matchbox Motors and Car Wash. I think I do remember seeing the commercials for this. It looks familiar, but it's such a generic just car thing. Oh, I definitely saw this. The spin dry. I remember them pushing the car through the car wash. I do remember seeing that in the commercials. So I do remember that being a big thing, but to me, like I couldn't give a damn. And that's it. That's all it lists. So there you have it. Those were the hottest toys during Turtle Mania. I'm really shocked there wasn't more Ninja Turtle stuff on those lists, honestly. I was expecting tons of Turtle stuff, and I don't know how accurate those lists are. They're probably not the best to go by. They probably have weird criteria. Like they probably won't accept Turtles again because they just want to do one thing and not just say everything Ninja Turtles as like something on the list. So I can kind of see it. Yeah, what a blast from the past. Some of the stuff on there I completely forgot about. Creepy crawlers I didn't forget about, but it was just nice to remember them. Yeah, that was crazy. There's some things I'm surprised weren't on there, like GAC, Nickelodeon GAC and stuff. Like there's some items I thought would be on there that weren't on there. But yeah, that's mostly how I remember it. And I know this wasn't probably the most exciting episode, especially if you weren't alive back then. I hope it was nostalgic for people who were alive back then and, wanted some of those toys. I'm really surprised there was no Disney stuff, like not a single Disney thing. You think with like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, like Aladdin, all those movies coming out at the time, like none of those had hot selling Christmas. Oh, wow. That's really surprising. That's kind of sketchy, actually. I think something weird's going on. But yeah, that was a trip down memory lane. I figured I'd just do something a little different for this episode because it's Christmas and we already talked about We Wish You a Turtle Christmas. And I wanted to talk about, Christmas how I remember it, I guess. And I don't want to say the best Christmases of my life were the Turtle Mania ones, but they might have been. They were definitely the best, like, present wise. I loved getting the turtles. I mean, really the best gifts I ever got was 94, Christmas 94, because not only did I get my Super Nintendo, that's when I got my dog, and that was the best gift you could ever give somebody. And but as far as I don't think of him as like a present. I think of my dog as like a sibling. Like he was like my sibling growing up. So I'm just talking about like toys and stuff. Like the Turtles years were the best for toys. Probably 91 was probably my best toy Christmas ever growing up. And Christmas, especially not having kids like me, Christmas is never going to be what it was when I was a kid ever again. I know a lot of people say having kids is the best thing that can happen to Christmas when you grow up because then you can enjoy it vicariously through them. My sister had a baby this year, so it's going to be her first Christmas. Obviously, it's very different when you're a newborn baby. But maybe Christmas will be a little more fun now that there's going to be a kid in my family in years coming forward. But yeah, I just like remembering, the great Christmases of the past. And I still enjoy the season. There's still plenty to enjoy. I don't think it's quite like Halloween. I think Halloween, when you grow up, you can easily still enjoy it. If anything, I might even enjoy Halloween more now as an adult. I still love Halloween as a kid, but that's just kind of something that gets added into my enjoyment of Halloween as an adult. There's so much stuff I do for Halloween now as an adult. I definitely like Halloween better than Christmas as an adult, but Christmas is still great. And I hope you're having a great holiday season, regardless of what you celebrate. I hope you're having a great holiday season. I hope you had fun just going over those lists. I know it wasn't the most interesting episode, but yeah. Well, what were your favorite toys of the Turtle Mania years? Did those lists accurately portray it how you remember it? And do you think it's weird that Ninja Turtles weren't on those lists more like I do? So that's it, guys. Last episode of the year. Next time we do an episode, it will be 2024. It'll be episode 27. We're more than a quarter to 100 in episodes now. I don't know if Eric will be back for the next episode. He might be. He might not be. We'll see. But new year, new episodes coming. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that stuff. We still haven't gotten any better with our sign-offs. They're still awkward and weird, and we just fumble over what we're saying. So before I just fumble over my words anymore, Happy New Year.